I say what? Oh, this is Brian. Call me Achilles Gardener. Coming to you from, we're going to get to that, in scenic Hesper, Ontario. And you are listening to Ramble on Radio, episode 142 on the, not the off-the-cuff podcasting, the really completely and utterly off-the-cuff podcasting network. Today we are really just winging it. I just printed out my normal script with nothing written on it, just so I had this part to say. And I scribbled a couple of quick notes. And I just wanted to get one in, get back into the groove, as it were, and let you guys know I'm still out here and functioning, and we'll get to all that in a minute. You are listening to Ramble on Radio. Crap. Ramble on Radio is the only Led Zeppelin podcast on this or any other known internets. Be sure to go to rambleonradio.com for all your Led Zeppelin news, reviews, and any links I might mention during the show. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes and Google Play. And don't forget to leave a review. If you're at iTunes or Google Play, reviews help their algorithms find the podcast. And what I mean by that is literally people go to iTunes, search Led Zeppelin. The more reviews that have been left, the more downloads I've had, and the more reviews that have been left, the higher up in the search it will turn up. That literally means is it's easier for people to find it. It's people to stumble across it. More people will find the podcast. More people find the podcast, more, it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. But more casual fans are likely to find the podcast, for instance. It is also available on Podbean. Podbean has their own mobile streaming app. It's at I Am Brian Dammit on Podbean. You can listen on Stitcher Radio. And don't forget to check out Ramble on Radio on YouTube. This podcast will be posted on YouTube. Also, follow Ramble on Radio on Facebook and at Ramble on Blog on Twitter. Okay, so if you don't follow me on Facebook, and I think I didn't post on Twitter, but I did on Facebook that I was taking a summer hiatus. If you don't follow me on Facebook, you're going, where the heck's he been? What's going on with that? I have posted a couple of reposts from the past, from the very early days. And that's really, I do that as much as anything because when I first started doing it, I was using free uploading service. I was using Podbean, but it was the free server service, which means it had a limit how many I could post. So I would roll, I had about 10 at a time, 10 or 12 at a time up. And then I'd have to remove as I was putting new ones up. And then I finally bought actual server time. It's unlimited, so just over time, but I can't just post I just can't go past them. Okay, let's put them all back up because they will show up in your feed. So I kind of try to inch them in. And it will take about 460 years at the rate I've been inching them in to get them all up there. But anyway, so yeah, I took the summer off for a bunch of stuff dropped really suddenly, and I don't even know how to, there's some things I don't want to talk about. First off, I should say, health-wise, fine, marital-wise, fine, nothing really that traumatic happened. I say health-wise fine. My father has been sick. He's 82 years old and just going through 82-year-old stuff. He's not certainly what he once was. And we put him into a retirement home just mid-May. And it was, it was a real downgrade from the kind of service he was getting before. It was actually, he went from retirement home to a long-term care home, if you understand the difference. Long-term care home means, it's very unpleasant, and I'm not going to say I dealt well with that. But beyond that, I retired, and that was planned. And then my wife, at literally the same time we were with my dad, went through her own job issue, and I am not at liberty to discuss anything about that. I've been told to shut up about it already. But I didn't. I took it worse than she did. Weirdly, it bothered me a lot more than it bothered her. But And then in the middle of all that, we bought a new house. We moved. So I am no longer at the Ramble on Radio Towers. I am at the Ramble on Radio. I have no idea what it is. Maybe it'll just be the Towers. Maybe we just call it the Towers anyway. I have to figure this one out. I'm no longer in a dungeon studio. I'm in my basement office. But as you people on YouTube can see, and I'll kind of show you around a little, not a dungeon. Quite open, quite light, quite airy, quite a bit of space. And I have a workroom where I repair guitars just beside me, and you can see my records behind me, and it's all nice and open. This is a great space to work out of, but it's not a dungeon. So we're gonna have to rename all the studios and figure out where I am. That'll come in due course of time. So that's what's happened, and then of course once you stop doing something like this, getting back into the groove is hard. You kind of got to force yourself back. And I've been thinking a lot. And the plan was, literally the plan was that, beginning of September, I come back. 50th anniversary, I'm going to start hitting the 50th anniversary stuff hard. I started looking at it last week. The 50th anniversary of their first gig was a week ago Friday, September. Look at me not having it at the tip. See, I told you I'm off the cuff. Forgive me, I'm pulling up the phone. Really bad form at a date, first date especially, and on a podcast, the first podcast in a long time especially, I would say. But first off, this isn't March, is it? So I'm guessing, I'm going to say it's the 7th. The 7th of September was the anniversary of the first show. And I kind of last week sent an email to somebody hoping maybe I could get a quick interview and roll this off. I received a reply this week from that person. And I'm still working on getting him an interview. His name is Jerry Ritz. Jerry was, I won't tell you much about him, but Jerry, you can look him up if you want. But I have met Jerry. Jerry's a lovely man. And he seems interested in coming on the podcast, but I think all the boys who, the guys who were at the first show, who kind of, Jurgen Angel and Jerry and people like that, I think they celebrated pretty hard on the 50th anniversary. I think they enjoyed themselves. This was the impression I had. It was a bit of a party, including, by the way, a band called Coda from England that they imported over back to the Gladzacks, the site of the Gladzacks Teen Club where the first show happened, and they had a concert, they had a show. But I'm guessing there was more booze at this one than there was at the original Teen Club. That's just a guess. Just a guess. Also working on, been talking with Dave Lewis about having him on again. Dave's been on 2, maybe 3 times. He's got a new book called Evenings with Led Zeppelin, The Complete Concert Chronicles. If you're in America, the hardcover is only $700 or something like that. It's just bizarre. So much noise. So much. This is the 3rd time I've done this. And I'm not restarting again. Anyway, so there you go. That's all that's been happening, and that's what's hopefully coming up. And I'm going to quickly talk about The Song Remains the Same re-release that came out last Friday as well. Just briefly. And then we'll move on. It's going to be a short, hopefully, podcast today. I can't seem to get a break on the noise factor and the busy around me factor. People seem to be coming and going. It's driving me crazy. I've started this podcast 3 times now. It's a principle with me that I don't restart. But since we're doing video for YouTube, I kind of gotta go from the start. I can't just cut. I turn off easy enough. My software, I can't turn off easily enough and pick up again on the video. Anybody knows a good program for doing that? It allows me to go pause video and walk away. Please text me or email me or put a message on YouTube, because I'd love to find something like that. Anyway, the intro was The Ocean, Providence, Rhode Island, July 21st, 1973. Now, I wanted to roll something from that late 73 on the intro. That's a lie. I wanted to roll a poetry reading from Scarlett Sabé. I actually looked. She had done a few in the last little while, and I thought it'd be a neat way to start it. but they actually don't turn up on YouTube. There was one kind of complete one from Shakespeare and Company in Paris, but I didn't have time to edit it down to find a poem out of the bunch and blah, blah, blah. I was hoping to find one and just throw it on there for you. But I didn't, so I went plan B, which was, and I wanted to go as late as I could into that 73 tour. The last 3 dates were July 27, 28, 29 in New York City. That's The Song Remains the Same. Those dates. And I didn't want to pull a New York City song because I didn't want to tread on, I didn't want to take the chance of treading on copyright issue, the toes of copyright. How's that? So, and I didn't really feel like I had time to research what song came from what night, blah, 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 blah. So I decided to go backwards, and I went to Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh was the night before, and if you watch The Song Remains the Same, the whole bit with the limo, standing at the plane landing, the limo, the rushing to the show, that's actually all Pittsburgh. And so I thought that would be kind of cool, but the bootleg I have here from Pittsburgh is awful sounding. You could barely hear it. So I went backwards to Baltimore, again, same thing, awful sounding bootleg. So Providence, Rhode Island on July 21st was the night I chose, and the ocean was the intro up to the solo, and we'll go solo to out on the outro. That's what you heard on the intro. I do not have my in history. Maybe I should. Maybe I should be doing my in history stuff here, right? Podcast episode. Let's see. I can pull this stuff up quickly if I need to. But what do we know about history? We know that maybe that's all. I'm in April, June, July, August, September. What do we have? 15th. So let's go back to the 7th, 50th anniversary. 1968 was the first show of the Gladsaxe Teen Club in Denmark. So I was right. It was the 7th. On the 11th in 1980, they announced the details of the 1980 American tour, the 80s Part 1. In the 12th of September 1980, Jimmy Page and John Bonham recorded Bonzo's Montreux at the Studio Montreux Casino. On the 12th of September 2007, 11 years ago, the O2 show was announced. I'm not getting a consistent volume signal here, am I? I'm going to drive you guys crazy and go up and down, but apologize. Apparently I haven't done this in a while. And what is so? On the 14th of September 1974, all four members attended Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and Joni Mitchell show at Wembley. Afterwards, Page and Bonham jammed with Young, Nash, and Stills. On this day in 1978, 40 years ago today, the 15th of September 1978, Page Plant Jones attended Richard Cole's wedding in Fulham, London. Same day, 2011, and this was very early in the history of this podcast. This was one of my big stories. I love this story, and if you wonder why I always say, this is Brian, call me Achilles, or whatever at the beginning of the podcast, this is because of this story. Missouri man George F. Blackburn changed his name to Led Zeppelin 2, and sadly passed away a couple of years later. On the 16th of September 1970, Led Zeppelin won Best Group and Best Album and Melody Makers Readers' Poll at Savoy, London. On the 1968, so we're at 50 years ago, in 5 days, Led Zeppelin started recording the debut album. On the 21st, 1983, 35 years ago, was the second night of the Arms concert, Jimmy Page's kind of debut back to, and I'm going to leave it at that. That sounds good. Yeah. Okay, so that's what happened in history, in Led Zeppelin history. Okay, so the song remains the same. Let's get to it. The song remains the same. I bought the CD. If you're on YouTube, you can see me showing you the new CD with tri-fold cover. And yeah, so I bought the CD. It was about $20. Was, you know what? I didn't want to buy the LP because I bought 10 years ago. They released these LPs as a box set, and I bought that box set. And this is the same set. They didn't do much here except for remaster. They didn't remix it. They didn't re-edit it. 10 years ago, they re-edited it. They had Kevin Shirley in and did some stuff. This time it was remastered only. And remastered isn't, like, the audiophiles get fussy about the mastering. And it's understandable that they do. But for you and me, you'd never notice a remaster from a, you would never notice. You would never ever notice a remaster. Oh, that's a different remaster. Unless you have really good equipment, unless you really pay attention to this stuff. So quick impressions of this. So yeah, first off, the reviews kind of coming online are somewhat negative about this. Not that it's bad, but that it adds nothing to the canon. That it is really just a throw some stuff. Oh, we're doing all the remastering, so let's remaster this one too. But they didn't add anything significant to it. They didn't change anything. They didn't fix some of the known problems of it. They just kind of twiddled the knobs differently and called it a remaster, you know. And again, this was all done 10 years ago, so that's half the issue. That's mostly the issue. They did it 10 years ago, and people like me went out and bought the album. And if you're, I can. Yeah, give me a sec here. If you're on YouTube, you're just gonna have to be patient, okay? Just for you guys, YouTube guys. There you go. There you go. The albums. Okay, I have to restart, guys. So I've paused and went and got the album. So here it is. If you're on YouTube, you can look and see. It's a nice big box. It's not like the fold-over box, but this is what they did. It's got all the same stuff, right? It's basically what they just re-released. Now you get the Super Deluxe Edition with all this, with the CDs and the DVD or whatever, with Blu-ray, with high-def audio, CDs, LPs, and a DVD. That's one of the complaints. It's the most modern setup, and oh my God, they put a DVD, not a Blu-ray in. Of course, the movie has also been released on Blu-ray. I think that was one of the things they did here. So the complaint is a bit of a money grab, and yeah, the Super Deluxe Edition is $200 or something. It's I wasn't going to spend the money on the LPs when I already have I have the original, the '76 original album, which to me is still the best sounding one. I love how it sounds. Mine's crackly and scratched because I listen to the hell out of it, but I wouldn't trade it in for these new ones at all. That said, quick impressions of this. It's loud. It's mastered loud, and it's mastered. I also have kind of an original, kind of from. Doesn't give me a date on that, but this is probably from the '90s or something. The CD sets, the big box and stuff. It's a lot louder. The new one is a lot louder. You put them on side by side, which I did, louder. But also kind of not as clean sounding. The old one was crisp and clear sounding, and when you really notice when you put them side by side, distortion in the new one, and that distortion is because it's louder. So they're cutting into the red zone when they mastered it. So that's first. So does the sound better? Judgmental. It's not significantly so. There are those who like this one because they feel like both the drums and the bass are really popping out. So you can hear that a lot better than you can on some of the older versions. Don't really have the equipment to test that theory on, I have to confess. And that's one of the problems with that sort of thing is it's easy to say, oh, the bass sounds great, but you go, I don't know, the stereo I listen to it on, I couldn't really hear that. Or you have to really know something really, really well to be able to go, wow, listen to the bass. Generally speaking, what happens is it sounds good, it doesn't sound good, you like it, don't like it. You don't know that you don't like it because it's mixed weirdly and stuff. So that's the set is it's available, by the way, on Amazon at your local record store. I found this at my local record store. They had no LPs, which I thought was strange. But you can, through Amazon, you can get the LPs. I should speak of through Amazon. I almost did it mid. I got to do this. Here we go. A midsummer. I almost broke my hiatus for a midsummer interview, and I should talk about this really briefly. I contacted somebody who had a book coming out. His book was called Jimmy Page: The Definitive Biography, and it's by a guy called Chris Salowitz. And Chris was happy to come on. He was excited about coming on. Yeah, let's come on. And then the book reviews, but the next day, the reviews started hitting, and it was not good. Including Dave Lewis even kind of said, I'm not. And radio silence occurred thereafter. Now maybe all sorts of weird crap started happening in Chris's life, and it had nothing to do with the reviews. But I found that an interesting coincidence that I'm not so sure he suddenly wanted to come on a Led Zeppelin podcast. He was getting beat up pretty badly for the tone of the book, which is very much seems to. Now I have not read it. It's only, and the reason I thought of this quick, it's only available on Amazon. It's the only way to get it is through Amazon. And I decided I kind of looked in the bookstore when I was actually in the States for a couple of weeks. About a week in the States, and then I spent a week with my daughter who lives in Vancouver, and drove back across Canada. But when I was in the States, I hit the bookstores there. I hit the bookstores here. I couldn't find it. Then I discovered it's Amazon only, and I didn't want to. I don't know. I didn't want to pay for shipping, and it's, you know what? Now that I'm retired, I always kept a kind of an account on the side that was my internet account, and it was easy to just, it was attached to PayPal, but that account has disappeared now that I'm retired. It was money that actually came off my paycheck into a credit union. So if I'm going to order something online, I got to use the family credit card, and I'm just less likely to do that. And it's not like I would have to fight for the right to use it or something. It's more just I'm less likely to do that. So things like, if it's on Amazon only, there's a good chance I'm not getting it. Not an impossibility, but, and I really didn't want, and then when I started reading the reviews on this, so I will look, I keep my eye, it wasn't available as Kobo, or not Kobo, the one, Kindle. It wasn't available on Kindle, or whatever. What's Amazon's? Anyway, the book is called Jimmy Page: The Definitive Biography. It deals a lot in the debauchery side of things, the unsavory side of Jimmy Page and his career. Less on the music, more on the what was he getting up to aspect. So I don't know. I was just less likely. Oh, there's a Kindle edition, £9. Apparently I'm on the British side. So I'll have to go back and see. If there's a Kindle edition, I might just go away. If there's a Kindle edition, I might pick it up and read it. But we got Dave Lewis's book to get at. Now, Dave Lewis's book is available on Amazon only as well right now. I'm holding up my piece of paper where I have the words written. Dave Lewis, Evenings with Led Zeppelin, and it's quite, it's the same kind of reasonable price thing. in Britain, but it's showing up. It's like $700 in Amazon.com. Now there is a $18 Kindle version, so yeah, I think I'll be Kindling that one, and I suspect I might Kindle if I can get the Kindle, or I so much rather iBooks, and it's just the app that I use the most. That's all. So I would so much rather it was available on iBooks, and then I would grab it. But there you go. That's but anyway, Chris Salowitz, and then the song remains the same. Is out, available at all your stores. Look, if you need the song remains the same. If you don't have it, then this is as good a version as most. Not ideal. I'm holding up my old records here because I just put away the thing. So yeah. If you have a version that you really like, if you have the 70, then this is less of a buy, I think. And there are people I know of who've bought all of it, who've bought all the remasters, all the formats, and not touching this one. It just feels cash grabby to a lot of people, and I'm kind of among them. So, choose. But again, it's $20 for the CD. So if you need it, or if you stream your music, if you buy through Apple or whatever, now might be the time to do it. All right. A little while ago, I started, I think the last podcast before I went, I started a From the Collection. And I've already discovered I'm going to have to make a list of what I've used. I already don't know what I did on the last one, or how many I've done. I might have done 6 of these for all I know, but I think I only did 1. So anyway, so I pulled something quickly here from the collection. It is Richie York's book, Led Zepp. This is an original 70s version. And it's you can see there's a standard paperback, so you can see it's a larger, but it is paperback. And if you're on YouTube, you can see that. If you're listening, you can't see any of that. You can hear me wiggling it though. It's 70s version of hardcore biography, which is to say, you have no idea that they're up to no good at any time. It concentrates on the tour and the movie, and they change the world and blah 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 blah, and almost nothing negative in it. And that was your impression. That was our impression of Led Zeppelin. Whether it's that or Howard Millett, or I think those were the 2 big guys. Richie York's a Toronto guy, by the way, a local guy. Quick story. I do the blog too, the Ramble Radio blog. And there was a story about Richie York, or maybe he did a story, I think. And I posted the story. I posted about the story. I clipped it, and I showed a picture of this book, my book. And then I got an email from somebody saying, basically, I represent Richie York, and why are you posting his copyrighted material on your blog? And it was at first it was very pleasant. Oh, it was lovely for the story. Thank you for posting. And then boom, came this. I represent Richie York, and then it had a funny email address. So I checked out the email address, the .com, whatever, and it was like selling weed online. And it was some woman in her like 60s, complete hippie chick. So I just went, oh, whatever. I ignored it, completely ignored it. I don't care if Richie York doesn't like that I posted his book, a picture of his book, or whatever it was I posted. If I basically took a approach to it, and never heard from her again. So that's probably still in there, still up there somewhere. If you want to Google it, if you want to go to Ramble Radio and search for Richie York, you'll probably find the picture. Anyway, that's the book I got. It's a good book. It's a good read. But no real groupie stories or anything like that. So you can buy the Chris Salowitz book, you can buy the Richie York book. You get 2 different stories. And that's it. Like I said, I want to do quick today. I'm really off the cuffing. I'm hoping to have a couple of interviews in the next couple of weeks. So I just wanted to let you know I'm back. I'm not in great form right now. I'm really distracted by what's going on around me. Not the dungeon. Not the dungeon. Might be hurting the cause because it's too open. I don't have it closed. Might have to solve that problem. Might have to go into my guitar room and figure that out. But we'll see. Looking for suggestions what to call this studio, what to call the new Ramble on Radio Towers. If you want to send me start a post on Facebook, start a post on Twitter, and see if we can figure out what to call this place, and we'll go from there, hopefully. So that's it for Ramble on Radio, episode number 142. Check rambleonradio.com for notes on this week's podcast, Led Zeppelin news, reviews, and any links mentioned in today's podcast. For Ramble on Radio on Facebook and at Ramble on Blog follow Ramble on Radio on Facebook and at Ramble on Blog on Twitter. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes and Google Play. Don't forget to leave a review. It helps other people find us. It helps their algorithms help other people find us. Listen on Stitcher Radio. Download it from I Am Brian Diamond on Podbean. And check out Ramble on Radio on YouTube, where this video will appear in the next day or 3. Thanks for listening to Ramble on Radio episode 142. And we're going to outro with some more of The Ocean from, what did I say it was from? Rhode Island, July 21st, 1973.